Hey guys, in this video we're going to discuss about a 7 marks question from first unit, the evolution of data engineer. Okay, let us start with the answer of this question by defining what is a data engineer. So now we can put the definition of data engineer as follows. It is a personal or a professional who designs, builds and maintains data processing systems such that it allows us to do data collection, storage, transformation and accessibility. This is necessary as data is not in a polished form and not ready for analysis all the time. So such activities and such architecture leads giving better data and data quality to other professionals like data scientists and data analysts. Now when it comes to the evolution of data engineering, it can be broadly divided into four phases, right? Starting way back in the 1980s all the way to 2000s is one phase. From the 2000s to 2010 another phase, and 2010 to 2020. So these are the four phases, and now we're going to be looking deep into each phase. The first phase from 1980s to 2000s. So we're going to have a look at the main events or the main points that are to be written in each phase. You can find more points and elaborate points in the notes which is put in the description box below. So yeah, when it comes to phase 1, 1980 to 2000s, Bill Inman, gotta remember the name, it's important. Bill Inman coined the term data warehouse. So data warehouse was a term which was coined back in the day when there were issues with storing of data. So data warehouse was a concept that was introduced at that time for storing data in an efficient way. RDBMS and SQL were developed by IBM. RDBMS, relational databases, and SQL, which is very famous in the present day, were introduced in this period by IBM. The internet went mainstream in the 1990s. We all know that internet was a big boom back in the day, which created which created a revolution and brought many changes, especially in the domain of data, which we'll see its effects in the later on phases. Now let us talk about the next phase, the early 2000s. By this time, internet has come into the picture and brought many changes in the world of tech. So in 2003, Google published papers on GFS, and in 2004 on MapReduce. GFS stands for Google File Service. Google File Service. It is like a virtual file service which is used to store large amounts of data. And MapReduce is like an addition to GFS, which is used to process the large amounts of data in GFS in an efficient manner. Later on in 2006, Yahoo developed an open source called Hadoop. Now, Hadoop is a very famous tool which is used in the world of data and big data, and this technology was introduced by Yahoo. Later on in this period, AWS launched EC2, S3, and DynamoDB. Now, EC2 is a provider of virtual server, whereas S3 is a type of virtual storage. And DynamoDB is like a database for NoSQL. So these were some of the important events or updates that happened in this phase. The next phase is from the 2000s to 2010. Now, big data came into the picture and concepts of big data were going all around. So, Hadoop ecosystem tools like Hive, Pig, Cassandra, and Spark became famous all over the world, and many uh, tech personals were starting to use them. Yeah, overhype of big data. Big data became so overhyped that the big concepts of big data were used even when they were not required. So, which led to unnecessary efforts and unnecessary costs for businesses. Required teams costed millions. As I said, big data was overhyped, and the teams, meaning the personals who know the big data concepts, costed millions, even though when they were not required. And the last point, transition from batch to event streaming. So, batch streaming, there's a concept in which all the data is processed batch wise, the large, which means that large amounts of data were broken down into small chunks and then processed. So that changed to event streaming. Event streaming means analysis and processing of data in real time. So the processing of data is done as soon as the data comes in. So there is no latency, which leads to a faster and optimal output. And now we have the final phase, the 2020s. Here we have the modern data stack. The modern data stack means it's like a collection of cloud-based tools which we use to handle the entire data pipeline. Data engineers focus on security, data ops, architecture, and orchestration. So security regarding the encryption and security of the data. Data ops, the various operations performed during the process of creation of the data. Architecture, the structure and the design which we followed in order to maintain the data. And orchestration is the process which we use to automate the flow of data from one system to another. Move towards centralized, modularized, managed tools. So this just means that we have a set of cloud tools in which they are used to do a certain task rather than focusing on the entire giant and building and maintaining it. So these are the 4 phases which we have covered in this video, and if you write these along with some points in the notes given in the description, there are likely of chances to get good marks for this question. That's it for this video. Thank you.